I think we should get some terms down. I'm really interested in, because I grew up sort of similar to you. People sort of have this really literal approach to the Bible. I wasn't allowed to watch Harry Potter. That was witchcraft. Fornicators are going to hell. Even that word fornicator is just so old school. But I found a place in evangelical Christianity. I almost felt like evangelicalism sort of counteracted that fundamentalism that we had. But I'm wondering maybe if you could define what evangelicalism is and how it's different from that fundamentalist approach to the Bible.
I think a lot of people, Melody, that is super important, that point that you just made, because I think a lot of people look at evangelicalism today and they are like, what is this? Because for me as well, which you said, evangelicalism in a lot of ways to me was like a savior, a salvation in a lot of ways. It rescued me from a lot of really toxic theology and practice that I had grown up in. And what I found out was that the evangelicalism really kind of today is not the evangelicalism that was first kind of imagined and where it began. Evangelicalism, where it began. Now I may get some of this wrong. My academic interest is not evangelicalism, but in the 70s, evangelicalism began from a few kind of leading thinkers who were trying to create a big tent approach to Christianity and Protestantism, something that a lot of people could come to and say, this is defensible. Actually, I think there are four pillars essentially to evangelicalism. One of them is salvation. One of them is the cross being central. One of them is actually social justice, social action. And the fourth one is, I forget, but most people, even who have issues, or consider themselves post-evangelical, would look at those four pillars of evangelicalism where it began and say, we can actually still support all four of those things. The difficulty is a large part of evangelicalism over the last decade, maybe a little bit more, has kind of been co-opted by what I would kind of refer to as bad faith actors. Evangelicalism has been co-opted a lot by empire, by nationalism, by politics, and leveraged for things other than Christianity. And so now, unfortunately, evangelicalism is kind of a dirty word because it's been touched by so many dirty hands. What it means is very tough and it's kind of dirty and useless. A lot of people are kind of clinging to it, but I think the people who are clinging to this idea of evangelicalism aren't so much clinging to the four pillars that it began with, but are more so clinging to it as a leverage to try to get people to vote in a certain way, to act and think in a certain way, to behave in a certain way. And so I think, if a lot of us are looking at evangelicalism and saying, this was a real life-giving thing to me in the past, I don't know what I'm seeing anymore in this. Evangelicalism has changed from my vantage point. And I think, it's no longer a big tent mentality in evangelicalism, which, is kind of inviting lots of different voices and types of Christianity and doctrines to come together and say, we can agree on these four things. Now, most of evangelicalism is more exclusionary rather than inclusionary. You have to agree on lots of fine points of doctrine, not just those 4 points, in order to be considered in. And for a lot of people, that's kind of a no-go for them. That doesn't resonate with what they see in Jesus.